there are a few things I got to say. Follow me. Come on. I hope you guys are mobile. Oh, you got to move. You know, one or the other. Are they going to follow me or what? Well, my name's Preston Stempler. For those of you that don't know, I've caused lots of trouble at other Lublin functions. Number one, there was a bachelor party first? What did I do at the bachelor party? Stitches, sutures. We had to sew skin up. I've got 2 sets of stitches right here. If we could get Adam Lubin around here, we'd see a lot more. Okay, he went to the thing, Bruce. The what? You know, there was one day where we were having... Hey, excuse me, get away. One day we were having a party in Mark Lublin's house and people were smoking pot. Yes, smoking pot. Sorry. Yes, there they were, smoking pot. And their dog ate the pipe. Ate the pipe. You can't believe it. I had nothing to do with that. I had absolutely nothing to do with it. If you guys would follow me, I know it's got wheels. Let's go. Come on, we're going to take a little tour of the party. Let's go. What? The cameraman's shaking his head. Come on. Come on. All right, I'll introduce you to my mother. I think you can handle that.
I don't know what you
This is my mother.
Hi, Mark and Patty.
That's enough. Shut up.
No,
The problem with my mother is that she talks just a little bit too much. See her reaching for the microphone? She just talks a little too much. So, hey, Mark, I'm really happy for you, and have a good time. And Patty, you too. Don't touch it, Mom. See, she just wants to touch it. All right, since these guys won't follow me around the party, I'm going to have to sign off right now. But, you know, yeah, the little guy over there, you know, whatever. Goodbye. Everybody at my table's cringing at this point, but that's okay. This is Alan. We call him the fish, but that's okay.
I have nothing to do with this.
Yes, she does. She has everything in the world to do with this.
I categorically deny everything that Preston will say.
Anyway, just so that it gets said one time at this wedding, Mark and Patty, I'd like to wish you all the happiness in the world. Is that good?
That's decent.
That's decent?
Let's everyone say hi. That's all right. Following you. First is how I met Preston. We spent a lot of time in Vermont, and the Stemplers and the Locks came up to Vermont, and they went skiing with us, and it was great. Thought Preston was a nice enough guy. I was really into his sister, Courtney. I was 13, I had just lost my virginity, and now I really wanted more. And there's Courtney. See, how much older is Courtney? 6 years? Yeah, but I'm a year younger, so she's 4 or 5 years older. She didn't give a shit about me at all.
You had no chance.
I had no chance, even though I said I'm gonna get her. I never did. But in trying to get her, I became friends with Preston. And when all you morons were going to dead shows and taking ass and all that, it's my house.
Hey, your kids are here. Don't let your kids see you.
Preston and I were working on cars. I taught him how to work on cars, and then, much like a lot of the things that we did together, like I taught Preston mechanics and working on cars, and he always took it to a different level. You know, he now had 2 cars that he made into 1 car. He took some flying lessons. He became a pilot. He used to come to the racetrack with my brother and I, and then he started racing at a racing school and ended up teaching there. So just everything that Preston did, he took to a crazy other level. So it was, and the funny thing is, I knew your year, the year older than me, through Alan Bumberg and Michael Zucker, but yet it was Preston that sort of got me in. Like, we were hanging out all the time. He took me to the parties, and then, you guys became some of my closest friends. Not my best friends. I don't have any best friends. And a story that I could tell that just died with Preston, so it's only with me right now, is him and I went up to visit him at University of Vermont in the winter, and we hung out in Burlington, and then we were going to go skiing. So we went back to Sugarbush, where I basically grew up, and had a great day skiing. And we went back to hang with my friends. I can't remember whose condo it was right now, but these other people that I grew up with, we hung with them for the late afternoon, evening, and they made pot brownies. And Preston and I ate them. Preston was never big into anything but drinking, and he was really bad at that. But we ate these pot brownies, and we got so high. So now we're in my friend's condo, and we're like, how do we get out of here? We got to get back to Burlington. So I was like, I'll drive, we can do this. So we start driving a way out of town that I don't normally take, but it was getting to Route 89 by Route 100. And we think it's foggy out. Now, this is where I wish Preston was here, that he could tell me, was it really foggy or not? Like, I don't really know. And I'm sure we've discussed it, and I don't remember what we came out with, but I think it was just because we were so high. So we turned onto Route 89, except it wasn't Route 89. It was the high school that all my friends went to school there. We turned into Harwood High School, and we're in the parking lot. I'm like, this isn't 89. I'm like, what should we do? And we just drove out of the parking lot, and somehow we got back to UVM, and yeah, it was pretty funny. My third and final little story is, obviously Preston was sick for 3 years and declining, and I personally just wish he would have, passed quicker. I didn't say passed, I don't like that. He died quicker because he was in a little bit of his own hell at the end. And I was prepared for it until the morning we got the call that he was probably going to die in the next day or two. And then Patty and I were like, waterworks came down, and I was like, wow, maybe I wasn't prepared for it. And she went to yoga. I went to the gym.
Look at him, Luke.
Anyway, so I texted my kids, and I said, Preston's going to die the next day or so. Charlie wasn't up yet. She was in California. Cooper texts me back. He's like, that's so terrible, whatever. And then he's like, at least he has people around him that love him. And I'm in the gym, and I'm like, I started crying. I left there and came home. Patty got home from yoga. I'm like, give me a car. I'm leaving. So I went down there and hung with him. I didn't think I was going to make it, but I did. And he wasn't conscious, but I like to believe that, he could hear me. And it was a good, 5.5 hours we had together. But that's actually, the story is the people that I was with down there that had been taking care of him, that know him, but really didn't know him. So I was there from like 6 to 12:30, until the very end, and I'm there with these people, and I'm talking, we're just telling stories, and some people, see his friends down there that he's got such a wide range of friends, it's very cool. And Pete and I were just down there, dealing with the house and stuff, and we met some other friends that we've been talking to, and just awesome people. But these people that I was there with for the night, they knew him, but they didn't know him. They'd only known him for a few years closer when Preston had been sick. And I'm starting to tell stories about Preston when he was a kid, and the fights he got into, the fight he made me get into. He's like, you need to have a fight. And I did what he said. You know, you just got to keep on swinging and swinging and swinging, and don't stop until. And I won. It was great. It was a good fight, you know, at least for me. But they're like, Preston? You know, our Preston fought? I'm like, oh, he's got stitches here, he's got stitches there, he's got stitches there. So it was really, A, it was great that I could be there with him. Thank you, Cooper, for making me realize that I had to be there. And B, it was just great seeing, you know, these other people in his life that loved him so much. Preston had people that loved him, you know, he was a pilot, he flew everywhere, all over the world. And it just showed, and these, even though they didn't know the same guy that, you know, shouldn't have more than 2 drinks, you know, or else everybody around him is in trouble, you know, they loved him still the same. And then I saw one of them again, and she even said to me, I still can't believe that that was Preston. But Preston was very loved by many, and that's why we're all, this is a testament to it right here, that everybody is here. He didn't want a funeral. So he gets a party, whether he likes it or not. And if I believed in afterlife, which I don't, him and Zucker right now are laughing at us. Anyway, those are my stories. Welcome. And next up is Peter Locke.
I met Preston 55 years ago when my family and his family moved into a apartment on 10 Clint Road in Great Neck. And in those next 55 years, Preston and I grew up together, from kindergarten at Cumberland to elementary school at KJ to middle school to high school, summer camp. There you go. And then, of course, high school, and we went our separate ways in college, but just grew up together. And it's hard to believe that we're here at this point now. Mark made a great point that Preston had a whole bunch of different friends and a whole bunch of different lives, and when this was all starting to happen, we all got a look at those people, and they each reflected on them, his character, which was, although a tough guy sometimes on the outside, he was really a mushy softy on the inside. And he was empathetic, he was passionate in his interests, from shooting to mountain biking to kayaking to piloting, to everything he did. But in everything he did and all the friendships he made people love him. And you know, we're all getting a little older now, and at 50 and at 58, 59, 60, you know, we're all starting to feel a little old. But at that age, it's just too young to die, and cancer is just so insidious. And he, when he got sick, and when he knew it was kind of all happening, and he lived it. He lived those last 3 years with grace and humor, and on his own terms. And you know, one of the things that really points out who Preston was and how he lived his life was right after he was sick and he had his surgery. He was staying at Alan Susan's, and he had it. And Preston really was in no shape. Yeah. Preston was probably really in no shape to do anything. But at 6 a.m, Alan called me and he said, "Where's Preston?" And I said, "I don't know where he is."
Your house. It's at your house, right? Exactly.
And right, isn't he at your house? And Preston, who couldn't speak at that point and couldn't see out of his right eye and couldn't really use his right hand all that well, managed to escape from his parents' house in Great Neck, I guess he called an Uber, got the Uber to take him to LaGuardia, talked himself into a plane to Dulles, and made his way home to Virginia. And that's where he died. And we'll miss him terribly, and I know he loved all you, and he would love having seen you all here. So.
Longer than any of you. My job was to give him his tools and get the hell out of the way. And it worked for him. It wouldn't have worked for me, it worked for him. So I am so fortunate to have a son, to have you with him. I didn't know I was going to cry. So we had two particular brothers with different mothers, and they were just locked up here. They had been with him all his life, or most of his life. And since he was ill, they were the greatest assistance that the family had in helping him through this. Peter and Mark went above and beyond what anyone could do to get him through this mess that he had. And Preston lived it. I mean, he lived life, as they said, to the fullest. But he had this terrible illness. He came home from the hospital. He sat on my couch when he came to live with us for that short while. He cried and he said, "I'm going to die." And from that moment, he decided how he was going to live. So that's a lesson for all of us. And I love you all and thank you for being here. And like I said a few weeks ago, I do forgive you.
Donna, if I should tell this story. So I figure I should go after Alan and tell Alan how Preston and I ruined the Jaguar. Whatever. It was the E-Type, you know. So I was having a party, one of my parties, and Preston shows up in the Jaguar, and he's like, "Let's go, let's get in." I don't know. We were probably 16 or something, and we were flying down some curve in Kings Point, and there's this massive tree coming at us really, really fast. Anyway, long story short, I said, you know, there was a curb, a cobblestone curb like this high, luckily, right in front of the tree, and it bounced the car back into the middle of the road just before we hit the tree. And I wasn't bleeding. Preston was about to start driving again. I said, "Nah, out of the car. I'm driving this back." So we took it back to your house, and like a week later, he told me, "Yeah, I told my dad that he must have hit a pothole." And he paid me to put a new wheel on the car. So there's Preston for you. Just like, I have not told that story.
We forgive you.
Then, so anyway, Mark, you were saying that you taught
Thank
Preston.
you.
Thanks. Yeah, thank you. Mark taught Preston how to work on cars and stuff, and you know, we were working on Jennifer's car, and Preston, I told Preston I would buy him a torque wrench if he could put in a new engine. So that it was a cheap deal, and about 15 hours into the project, we couldn't get the engine to sit right into Jennifer's 4Runner.
Can you call me?
And so Preston was like, I was like, "What are we gonna do?" He's like, "We're gonna call Mark." So this was before FaceTime, right? So Mark was like, "All right, just tell me what is it, you know, what's going on?" And Mark like worked us through, "Yeah, I gotta get the teeth to do this, and you gotta get this to do that, you can't put that on first," and he walked us through the whole thing. It's wonderful. I talked to Mikey. This was shortly after Preston's surgery, you know, getting himself back down to Virginia, and we didn't know how long he had or how he felt about being alive anymore. And I just felt like I had to go see him. So I called Carrie, and Carrie talked to Preston, said, "Yeah, it's okay. You can come down." I got my ticket, and then I got another call from Carrie, and she said Preston doesn't want anybody to come down. I was like, "Well, I got my ticket, so don't tell him anything. I'll just show up. If he doesn't want me, I'll leave." And I spent a couple of days down there with him. Took walks in the forest with him. Where he lived was like right up in the forest, gorgeous. And yeah, I was glad I got to see him. But it's I guess Peter said it best. It's like we feel old right now, but 59's too young to die.
Amen.
So I love you, buddy. I was actually, the last thing, I wasn't going to say this, but a friend of mine called me like a week after Preston died, and she's like a medium or something. And she said, I got a message that you need healing. So she didn't know that my friend had just died, and so I went and I did this session with her, and she said, you know, let's call in your parents, or is there anybody you would like to be here? You know, my parents have both been gone. Anyway, like halfway through the session, she said, I think like a brother of yours just maybe, do you have a brother that recently died? I'm getting like chills right now. Like it was crazy. And then all of a sudden Preston was there. And it was just an extremely vivid presence. And Zucker was right behind him. So anyway, I love you, buddy. Thank you.
And I'm just going to talk about Preston's had a life with us. I got a whole second life with Preston. He would go from Dulles to Los Angeles, and he'd call us and he'd say, it's 6 o'clock. I can have drinks until 8, so he'd come meet me right now. So he would come to our town. He would stay in our town at a hotel on the beach, and he knew all of our friends. He made out my wife's girlfriends. And I can tell you, he had all these little women that would just, women just attracted him. So he would come all the time. We'd see him twice a quarter. You know, he was there all the time. So we were very lucky that we had this whole second life with him after our younger years. And then when he got sick, he came back, and he was already sick, and he was staying in a little tiny house. He didn't like it, so somehow he got himself into a hotel. And then he was there for like 30 days, and the last year we'd go watch football with him. He loved coming and watching football with all of our friends. And it was the last day, and he was about to leave, and this girl, he gets a phone call. And he somehow met a girl at a gym, and though he couldn't talk, she convinced him to move back to Redondo Beach. I don't know how he did it. I don't know what she thought she was doing. There's more to that story. So 30 days later, he says, I rented an apartment in Redondo Beach. He moved to our town, like I guess about a mile away from us. And that was like on January 1. And we met the girl, and none of the guys trusted this girl. I mean, we didn't know who this girl was, what was her intent, did she want his money? He couldn't talk. I mean, but he was still handsome and tall, and so for like 3 weeks we would see him. We'd go out and we were like on double dates, like in January. We'd go double dates with this girl and Preston who couldn't talk. And about 2 weeks in, she calls like 7 in the morning. She goes, "Oh my God, what did I do?" I'm like, "Oh no, what did you do?" She goes, "Is he sicker than he's telling me?" Yeah, the guy can't talk. He didn't know that he was sick. So she didn't know that how bad he was, and she's hysterical and she's crying. I'm like, "Well, sorry, you did this. You brought him out to L.A., so you got to live with this." So, but I think she was in love with him, and so it didn't last very long. You know, by the third week he had to go back. Alan came and got him, but we had these. Oh, I'll tell you one more story. So the first time he came, he hadn't met the girl yet, and it was his birthday, and we went out to dinner with Jonathan and Ellen, and I won't say her name, but he dated her in high school, but she's still married, so I'm not gonna say her name. Tracy, right? Tracy Stein. So she comes to meet us for dinner, and is she here? Anyway, so we go to dinner with her, and we walk out, and she pulls him and just lays just shoves her tongue down his throat. And he looked at his eyes, me and myself like, what the fuck's going on here? And we get back in the car, and Michelle's like, what just happened? He goes, I don't know what just happened there. I mean, she must have been carrying this a long time with her. I mean, they had a massive long-term relationship. Wow. The point is, everybody loved Preston. We got very lucky. We had this whole second life with him. And so that's my story is that we got very lucky that we had this whole second life with him after. Very nice. So.
When I see Scott Schweber, now I've got a problem. That's who she married. Oh. Our high school mate.
No.
Different Tracy?
Different Tracy.
That's such a relief. I'll get this one right. So I always related to Preston because I had the variety friend situation as well, and but I also really admired him. And for those of you that remember the Great Neck North '84 high school reunion, or 30th, where we had over a third of our class, there was still a bunch of us that went across the street downstairs with the rodeo horsey thing, and it can get a little rowdy in there. And there was a group about twice as large as our group, and kind of both thought we had the same spot at the bar. And you know, sure, if Preston wanted to throw, he could throw fists, but it's not what he wanted to have happen. He simply went up to the two biggest guys. I see how many of you there are. If everybody wants to walk out of here the way they look and feel right now, just go away. And I think that's the best part of Preston that I think is worth celebrating, is not just the life he lived, but what he can inspire for us going forward.
Thanks, Scott.
As Peter was saying, I've known Preston since the day I was born. And I mentioned this story to some of you before, but I'm going to repeat it because it's... So anyway, when I was in 7th grade, I had a BMX bicycle, and it got stolen from Middle Neck Road. And about a week later, the ding-dongs who were in junior high school with me at the same time were walking around North Middle with the pads from the BMX bicycle. So I see that they have, obviously these are the guys who stole my bike, and I went down to the bike rack and saw that my pieces of my bicycle were mixed in with other bikes, and I ran up to North High School. And I guess my initial thing was to get Peter, but Peter was still taking his Regent, and Preston was walking out. And Preston followed me down to North Middle, stood at the bike rack and guarded my bike as I, checked the VIN number on the bicycle, called the bicycle store. I mean, this is before the internet and all that stuff. And the kids who stole my bike are trying to unlock the bicycle. And Preston goes, "What do you think you're doing?" And they go, "Well, we're unlocking our bike." And he goes, "No, you're not."
You're right, Gary.
All I say is I knew I was getting my bicycle back that day because Preston was there, and he was the protector. He was always the protector, and he protected all of us. He would have done anything for any of us, and I love him.
Hi, Mark. Unfortunately, we've been in these kind of situations too many times. So, as you know, Preston and my husband were very dear friends, childhood besties. I loved Preston. I loved when he just flew in and came over in his captain's uniform, or came and chatted with the boys, or we went down to Virginia, to Washington, D.C. to show our kids, some of the monuments and stuff, and Preston would meet us. But I remember, when he came to our house a couple of years ago, and he just said he was supposed to be fine, and he just didn't feel that he was up to it, that something was wrong. And he knew enough to take himself out. And we've lived a very tough 3 years. And Preston was scared shitless but was so brave. And whatever happened to him, he fought. And he fought really hard. And like Mark and Peter and Hanowich and Abrams, and, you know, he did it on his own terms. And he did whatever the fuck he wanted to do, seriously. And, you know, my husband didn't agree with so many things at times and was like, come up here, we can take care of you better, we can help you more. And he was just like, this is where I wanted to be. So we drove down to Virginia, and we're like, okay, fine, now we're here. But even to the bitter end, he fought, and everyone should know that, you know, you guys are such a special group of friends. I truly never in my life witnessed this. And, you know, this is now the second one, and it's a horrible loss for everybody. I love Preston dearly, and it's just so incredibly sad that such a strong and powerful man who flew planes and bikes and broke his freaking neck and had the scuba thing on. That's my screensaver of Preston. After he broke his neck on a bike thing, he had the thing, and then he had a snorkel on. He's like, I'm gonna swim, it's gonna be all good. And he just did it his way. And I love him, and I will say that after he passed away, sitting on my porch, and even when I went driving, a plane would fly. And I was like, that's him telling us he's okay, and he is up there. And every time I see a plane, I just look up and smile. So, I love you, Preston.
Good.